to the NYCP talking stick. We're going to get started in just maybe a couple of seconds. Let everybody get in. Okay. Looks like everybody is opening up their audio. Okay. Let's see, everybody's in, audio ready. Just make sure that you're on, your speaker is on mute, your microphone is on mute, and we'll get started. Okay, aloha, and welcome to the NYCP May Talking Stick. Let's go ahead and get this cleaned.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
Great. Now that we've been disclaimed, let's move on to our agenda. We're going to be, again, introducing ourselves, going over some budget revisions and drawdowns, having a group discussion on 3 topics, and then we will be sharing upcoming events. Donna Bussell is joining us.
Hey, everybody. Glad you're all here. Can't wait to hear some great discussion.
Awesome. Thanks, Donna. And then I'm Olani, and I am with my teammate, Tracy. We'll be facilitating today's talking stick.
Hi everybody, welcome. Good afternoon, or perhaps good morning, depending on where you're joining from today. So I'm going to share a little bit of information about some budget revisions first, and then talk a little bit about drawdowns before we open up the floor to our discussion topics. But please feel free to chime in with any questions along the way, either in the chat box, or we'll take the pause here and there so you can take yourself off mute to share that way as well. So first up, budget revisions. Congratulations, everybody, for making it through your APR season. I'm sure it's a good feeling now to have submitted all that information. So when you uploaded your information into G5, you included that. You also included that budget information, and hopefully now you got to see the status of the completed drawdowns and have a more accurate sense of what has or has not been spent regarding your budget. So some of you, and perhaps maybe even most of you, are finding that your programs have a higher than anticipated balance. This is totally understandable given the challenges of the past year. We've all been working remotely, or perhaps in some hybrid situations, or going back and forth. Maybe there's been some other kinds of hiccups, COVID related or otherwise. But now that you have that accurate picture of your budget, it's the perfect time to take a good look at it and make sure that you have a plan to appropriately spend that money before the end of the grant year. So it's likely, if you do have a higher than anticipated balance, that you're maybe rethinking or need to rethink your original budget plan, and that's 100% okay. But remember, you must submit your revised budget for approval by OIE. There's nothing bad or punitive about submitting a budget revision. You know, in all honesty, Department of Ed would rather see those revisions and make sure that your money is being spent rather than than having it not spent. So you can submit those budget revisions at any time. But like the slide says, please, if at all possible, avoid September. September is when the department is working on those continuation awards. So it's really not the ideal time to be submitting a budget revision at that time. But if you need any help in thinking through that, or if you need guidance on how to submit those, the TA team here is available to you. We're here to help. Feel free to reach out with any questions about that process. Okay. Next, I want to just say a little bit about drawdowns that I mentioned. So remember, in the eyes of the department, money is only expended when it's drawn down from G5. So ideally, those drawdowns are happening monthly, but they can occur as frequently as you need, more frequently than monthly if need be, at a minimum quarterly. To make sure those drawdowns happen. Keep in mind those funds should be expended and drawn down in a manner that is consistent with your approved budget, which is why if you need to rethink your budget, you need to get those revisions submitted and have it approved before moving forward with those proposed changes. We wanted to emphasize this because high balances in G5 could result in additional reporting requirements or perhaps even a reduction of continuation awards. By now, just looking at where we are in the grant year, you should have about 60% of the budget spent. And if not, you can look at how you can appropriately spend that money so that you don't get to the end of the year without having spent your allocated dollars. And I think we'll talk more in a little bit here too about maybe some plans that some of you are considering for the summer. But first, I'm going to turn it back to Olani.
Awesome. Thanks, Tracy.
Mhm.
I think also some of you, as you look at the money that you haven't expended, might be thinking about a no cost extension. And again, like Tracy said, it's a little too soon to be thinking about that right now. Right now, you really should be thinking about doing a budget revision. And so one of the things we wanted to ask you about and have a discussion so you can, this is when I would love to hear from you. You can unmute yourself to answer these questions. But I guess the first question is, do you use your APR, the data that you put in, whether it was your GEPRA or maybe your program specific goals and objectives beyond your grant reporting? And if so, how? Again, this is a question we're posing out to you folks, so you can unmute yourself, or you could also put in the chat if you use your APR data beyond grant reporting, and if so, how?
This is Allison from the Blue Lake Rancheria.
Hi, Allison.
And I wanted to say that we actually, in the gathering of all of the data and the tracking of all of the data for our APR process, it comes about through our plan, do, check, act, continuous improvement process. And while the measurements, like the GEPRA measurements and things like that, they kind of inform what we do going forward, because sometimes it's like, okay, we met it. That's great. But are we exceeding it? And I don't know how to explain it. We use it as a part of our, we help define, then we measure, then we analyze, then we improve, and then we try to control the outcome as a part of our continuous improvement process. And so, yes, we do use some of our data beyond just reporting it to you, but not all of it is completely pertinent to the information of how we go forward. Some of it informs us to then maybe look at our plan better, but then sometimes, like I was discovering because of COVID, some of the measurements don't make sense anymore. Because our plan was predicated on the fact that we were going to have in-person instruction. And so we said, we're going to spend 285 hours in the classroom. Well,
Right.
we didn't spend 285 hours in the classroom. So when I looked at that data and I got 77 hours, I was like, wow, that's really bad. But we couldn't be in the classroom. All of our stuff had to be virtual. And so we held virtual classes. So that 1 hour in one virtual classroom, actually 7 different teachers' classrooms
Right.
came and listened to that. So in 77 hours versus 285 hours, we reached 756 kids when we had only thought we'd reach 150 kids.
Wow.
So what does that data tell me?
Yeah.
That data tells me that the virtual school reached more kids. Was it better? I don't know. Was it better or not? Just because we reached more kids, did they get the quality of instruction time that they would have had if we were in person? So that's what I'm struggling right now with the data that was accumulated for our APR, is how to use it going forward. And should we make the decision based upon a COVID year
Right.
when that data, how applicable will it be going forward? So now I'm really questioning, do I need to send out more surveys? Do I need to find more information? It's making me question more. So I guess that's useful.
Yeah.
But that's how we're using it.
Yeah. I love it. I love that you have a continuous improvement plan in place and, you know, a system in which you are looking at the data. Anybody else want to share how you might be using the data you put into the APR
Yeah,
beyond?
hi, this is Veronica Van Mechelen, and
Hi, Veronica.
I'm from up in Del Norte in the Redwoods. So what we used ours for was identifying things that we could partner with other people on. So we partnered with other people. So we kind of like, so they were providing something and we provided something else to meet what was missing. So, and it also helped us to see what teachers to target to like get into their classrooms. And so it really helped us with identifying where the problems were. So one of ours was the A through G completion. And we saw a trend of where math was an issue. And so we moved into those math classes. And because of COVID, the teachers really needed us to help them and be in those classrooms and do breakout sessions. So it helped us build relationships with those teachers that we didn't have before. And it also helped us to, so when COVID hit, 90% of our tutoring that was virtual was for math. And
Wow.
so math is like the thing that we know that's stopping people from completing the A through G. And so we're really focusing a lot on math. It's not our only thing, but it's one of the big things. And we identified the other partners that are doing whatever they're doing. And so we're moving in and doing the things that they're not.
Awesome.
Like the
That's
grades
great.
and doing all of those kind of things. And so that's just one piece of what we've been working on.
That's great. Seeing those, using the data and seeing the gaps and then targeting your services on areas is just, that's amazing use of your data.
So there's 2 other things that we learned from COVID. So one was that we can help those students that can't be on the bus. We've always struggled with this. They have to go home on the bus. They can't stay after school. So now we're able to help those students virtually. And that's something that we're going to continue on. And so, and the other thing is that we got feedback from parents that all this stuff is too complicated. We are trying to get on these platforms. We're trying to do this and that. And so we revamped our website and it's very user friendly. You can just go into the open virtual sessions. You can email staff, and we just made it very simple, and like everybody loves it. And so just listening to that feedback and adjusting to what our families and our students need.
Yeah. Amazing. That's awesome. Really great. That also sounds like I see in the chat, Tanya is agreeing, and that's been a shared experience to increase areas of deficiency. And of course, we use some of it to celebrate. Yay, stakeholders. Don't forget to celebrate. I mean, what you folks are sharing is some really amazing information. And I know, you know, COVID was definitely not good, but through sort of your folks pushing through and moving forward, there's definitely innovations, and you found a solution to the problem with students who have to ride the bus home. So, and again, getting your website better, that's just really amazing thing. Anybody else have something they want to share about how they're using APR data beyond the grant report? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the next question.
Okay. So we already kind of touched on this a little bit. Some of you have brought it up, and I mentioned it on the previous slide as well. But knowing that a lot of you don't typically offer summer program, we're wondering if you are considering summer program, maybe because you have some extra funds that you didn't anticipate having at this stage. We also know that a lot of schools and districts and states are thinking really critically about learning gaps that have emerged due to COVID and students not being as engaged. So we're curious if you are planning any summer programming, and if so, what types?
Hey, this is Veronica again. So we're going to do a math cultural connections summer session. And so we're going to be doing some cultural activities, but we have a teacher. So we're going to be doing multiple parts of it. So we have a iReady program that all the students are getting tested on. And so he's going to actually pull from that data and build lesson plans, and also build in there and show the correlations between the cultural projects and math, so that kids see the value in what we're doing. That, because we hear all the time, we don't really need math. Well, we're going to show them through the whole process of planning, of how we got our materials, how much we're using, the measurements, all these things. And so we have an amazing math teacher that's going to do it, that's had worked at a school before where they integrated culture into their curriculum. And so we're very excited. And we have some cultural people coming in to do the lessons, the classes.
Nice.
I love that connection between culture and math. There's been some really interesting projects in that area. So it's awesome to hear that the data has revealed that need and that you're approaching it in that way. I think that's really interesting.
And we built in social emotional learning. So we're going to do a post assessment and then ending assessment. And then we're also going to do team meetings at the end and like find things that they're doing amazing. And then we're sending parents letters home with what we observed amazing about their students, to get a little bit of parent engagement, because ours is in August. And so we want it to be like a really positive thing about school and about coming back and about building them up.
Yeah.
This is Allison from the Blue Lake Rancheria. And just like Veronica has said, math has been a big thing this year. And so we are partnering with Humboldt State University and co-sponsoring what is called a robotics and algebra or math credit recovery summer camp. So the kids are going to get a robotics kit that comes home with them that they get to put together and build a robot. So they have something hands-on, because that's the maker process of our grant, have to have maker activities. And the math part is they will go online and take a test that assesses where their lacks of skills are, where they're lacking skills. And then the program will design a method for them to achieve areas of proficiency in those that they lack. And so it targets those areas they lack. And that is with our Humboldt State University community partner we've formed with them. And that's going to be for grades, I believe, 6 through 12, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head. And it's 4 weeks of summer camp, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Then there's a camp that's a little bit for older kids, ages 15 to 18, again with our partner HSU, and it's a drone pilot camp where the kids will learn how to fly drones and all the information about drones and how that can be used to explore career pathways, especially in the natural resources area. We are tying it in with our tribal climate land management, change land management program. And they'll be able to fly the drones over rancherias, reservations, and take pictures of the land and give reports back to their tribe on the status of the land and things like that, but also explore other career pathways using drones. They are going to be paid, and this is our partner took care of this. The students that take this 4-week course, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, they will each earn $100 stipend per week that they can then use towards their drone pilot's license test that will be administered at the end of it. And when they're done with this program, they will earn their, it's called a UAS drones pilot license. And then there's a certain federal number for it or whatever. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. It's too much information. But those are our two main programs that are cultural, math, and science related. We do have an agriculture program that is running right now that will continue to run in the summer. So it's kind of a both now and summer program that is building a 4-H program on the Rancheria for grades kindergarten through 8th grade.
Nice.
A lot going on there. So many opportunities for the kiddos. I'd love to see some of those videos that they take too with the drones. I bet that'll be really interesting.
I love that you connected it into an actual certification. That's really where the students leave with something, you know, that they can add to their resume. That's great.
That was a part of our long range planning goals for developing CTE courses for the NYCP grant, which is a demonstration grant to pilot those kind of things, that then our STEP grant, which is building modern youth apprenticeship academies and designing the curriculum, can use the data from our NYCP grant to then inform our planning for the modern youth apprenticeship academies under the STEP grant. And then of course, we're going to have to get funding eventually to do those actual classes. So we're trying to make the biggest bang for our buck here.
Love it.
Great. Who else? Is anybody else out there? I see Trinidad has her hand up. Or is that my, nope, that's my cursor that I was looking at. Sorry about that. Who else is out there is thinking about summer programming, or maybe has a plan, or maybe even some questions to lift up here while you have your colleagues on the line with you?
Yeah, hi, this is Nate from Four Winds Indian Education in California.
Hi, Nate.
Hi. And we just met this morning with our staff. We're going to be supporting one of our schools. The teachers at the school are going to run the academic portion, and then we're going to do the enrichment portion. So we'll do arts and culture for a period, and we'll do archery for a period. And then we're also going to run our own program for 3 weeks, which will replicate kind of all of those different things at our Chico site. So we're going to run that for 3 weeks. So that's 6 weeks of programming so far this summer, and we have another site that we're trying to do some type of offering for.
Great, lots going on up there in California.
Yeah, and I also want to say at our site we just installed a native plant garden, so that'll also be part of the curriculum this summer.
Oh, great. And everyone's itching to get outside, I'm sure. Anyone else in other parts of the country? You hear about a lot of great things going on there in California. Oh,
I can go next. I'm Patricia Walker with the Phoenix Indian Center, and one of our programs that we'll be running over the summer is our Summer Academy. We're partnering with South Mountain Community College to offer digital storytelling. It's a 1-credit class for our freshmen through high school, outgoing high school seniors. And it's going to be a 2-week program from June 14th through the 25th. And again, it incorporates the traditional storytelling and then putting it into a digital format. In addition to our program, we are offering several cultural classes that will tie into the digital storytelling, which would be drum making, gourd making, the ribbon skirt making, ribbon shirts. I think flute making. Flute making is another one that we're going to incorporate. And that's a 2-week program for our youth to participate in June. In July, we have our summer internship program, where our youth are able to earn up to $13 an hour, and some of them get to work virtually. We do have a couple of in-person positions available, but again, it's just teaching the kids how to navigate through the workforce, teaching them, putting them through a job readiness program before pairing them with the businesses that we are partnering with. So we're really excited about having those programs over the summer.
Yeah, they sound really great.
Awesome.
Sonia, you're up next.
Hello. So we have a couple of things that we've got that we're working on this summer. We have partnership with UAF, our local university here in Fairbanks, Alaska, and they host summer camps. This year, they actually hosted camps year round. They did virtual camps as well. And so we are allotting spaces for some of our students in our school district to be able to attend. It would be like STEM, math. There is a language camp that's going to be hosted, along with some job focus, like junior paleontology and junior veterinarian camp and firefighting camps and stuff like that. So our students will be able to we have certain slots allotted for our students to attend those. We're also going to be hosting a 2-week summer camp. We are partnering with our one of our schools here in Fairbanks. It's called the F3 Cochrane Charter School, and we will be there for 2 weeks. Our camp is Water, Our Way of Life. And so we're going to be focusing on the river and interior peoples and villages for the first week, and our coastal peoples and up north the second week. We will be teaching Danaka for the whole duration of our 2-week camp. It is culturally based with an SEL approach, also included with STEM, math, and language arts. And so our students will learn how to interview elders and provide interviews. They will learn how fish camp is, how to run a fish camp, and learn how to jar and can salmon. So that is what we have going on so far this summer. And we are in hopes that we'll be able to continue to draw down our funds next year and be able to host the same camp next summer.
Great. That all sounds really, really interesting too. I wish I could attend all of these camps my own self, actually. Oh, and thank you, Allison, for sharing the link in the chat box there. Anyone else? Maybe you're still in the planning stages or working on some summer plans. Anybody else have thoughts to share about what might be happening this summer? Practicing my wait time in our virtual space here. If not, if we don't have other thoughts or maybe questions for each other, we can take a look at our other discussion topic that we have for today, which I think, Olani, you're gonna lead us through. Yep.
Yeah. So Tracy and I are going to be planning the future STEP talking sticks. And so what we wanted to do, talking circles, what we wanted to do was sort of get feedback from you folks about what you would like to discuss during these times. And so that we can help to build that agenda, and then maybe sources depending on sort of the topics, and also to create a place where you folks can have those discussions and learn from each other as well. So if you can unmute or you can throw it in the chat, but we really just want to get a sense of what you want to see as far as topics go to be discussed during these talking stick sessions.
I might just build on that real quickly, Olani, and say, we can vary the format of these gatherings as well. If we wanted to do some breakout rooms and collaboration type activities where it's really open, we want it to be responsive to what you feel you need and would be most helpful. So all ideas are welcome.
Mhm.
This is Allison from the Blue Lake Rancheria.
Yes, ma'am.
I really enjoy hearing what other people are doing because I've gotten so many wonderful ideas, especially from some of the people up in Alaska. They have given me some wonderful ideas because they are in rural communities as well with transportation problems and the internet issues and things like that. And when they said, "Hey, we just put our curriculum on jump drives," I went, why didn't I think of that? That was brilliant. And we started doing that this year because we have portions of the Yurok reservation that didn't have internet, and even our own reservation had internet issues this year. And so it was just a brilliant idea that I got from just these talking sessions that was so simple, and I just loved it. And it was easy to implement, and I'm so appreciative.
I love that example, Allison, because it illustrates for me too that you never know what is going to be helpful to somebody else. Like you said, USBs, it seems so simple, but to hear somebody else doing something with that opens up a whole new avenue for you. So I think sometimes we underestimate what we have to offer and bring to the table. So I'm seeing comments too in the chat box about hearing about other great projects that are successful, what other awardees are doing. So we definitely want to encourage that, and that's an easy thing for us to incorporate into these sessions.
I'd like to ask maybe a little bit further relating to that. Like, are there specific areas that you maybe want to hear from your peers and get their thoughts on? Like maybe transportation, or maybe, like you said, like providing content, but offline, that can be done at home. Are there specific areas that you want to sort of get feedback from or hear what other people are doing?
Yeah, this is Veronica Van Mechelen. I'd like to hear more about partnerships, because like I heard some stuff today, and I think my scope has been pretty limited with the partnerships, and I think I need to think bigger. And that just them sharing that really helped out. So I think that might be a good subject to talk about.
Thanks, Veronica. Yeah, and I think it's really good. Again, like Allison was saying, like there might be different conditions as it relates to partnerships in rural areas where there's distance between you and other communities, and so it'd be really great to hear from people in similar situations. Lenore is saying also maybe best practices of what has helped with some of the projects that many awardees are using to make a great project. Okay, awesome. Creative options for dealing with internet connectivity. Okay, got that. Making our list here. Partnerships would be interesting. Okay. Anything else? If you can unmute and go ahead and throw in your ideas. Go ahead.
I was just picking up on the collaboration thread, if that resonated with anyone else, and if there were particular things that you were interested in. I'm hearing that to hear more what other folks are doing, to share ideas with each other. But are there specific things that you wish you had a collaborative partner on?
Yes, I was going to say yes, yes. There's a part of what we're doing in this grant is to demonstrate ideas that are going to work for long range tribal use in programs, tribal programs. And so part of what we're trying to do is an asset-based community development assessment so that we can say, what assets do we already have that can be brought to force and bearing upon these issues that we see, and how can we use those assets to help resolve these issues? It's a concept that's in the Promise Neighborhoods concept of cradle to career, and bringing the communities together is a very big concept there. And so ways in which to assess your community partners in like an asset-based community development kind of way would be helpful. Like how do you assess that and leverage the strengths of your partners to, like Veronica was alluding to earlier, I believe, those gaps, filling the gaps in. How do we do that? How do we do this asset-based community development in the Promise Neighborhoods concept of cradle to career? That would be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you. Taking notes.
Yeah. Also, Chris is on the chat. Ways other grantees have involved the community in projects. They're using flyers, social media, events, as well as our other partners. Other ideas would be helpful. Great. Julie, she works in early education. It's been virtual so long, looking for ideas from other projects that are working in that area. Needs assessment. Okay, that's a good one. Daphne. Yes, a community needs assessment. Okay. A sample needs assessment. Okay. Does anybody have a sample needs assessment? I guess Laura is sort of throwing that out there.
There are, if I am thinking of some needs assessment tools that I know are out there, and maybe while we're talking here, I can bring up a link, but that's definitely something we could think about incorporating.
Right. Yeah.
So one thing that I thought about was during this COVID time, we had a lot of overlapping, and we really met with other people to make sure, because there's other programs out there, that we weren't bombarding parents with the same questions, the same things. And so one of the ideas came up is that while we're doing the assessments, if we could identify the participants a little bit better, then we pull the data for our participants.
Yeah.
And that's just lobbying the people that are doing the actual assessments. So we aren't doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. When you mention that, what comes to my mind is, I don't know if you've seen sort of collective impact practices and framework around, bringing partners together. It's a framework to bring partners together for a specific goal. And looking at targeted ways to accomplish that goal, but all from sort of the home of your organization. And then this whole idea about data and, data sharing that's appropriate and legal. And so that just sort of comes to my mind. Oh, and Julian threw in something. Thank you, Julian. A needs assessment for American Indians and Native Alaskans. Yeah, great resource.
So there's one more thing, Veronica, that I think would be useful for all of us to talk about, and is sustainability.
Okay. like program sustainability or
Yeah, just people's experience, because I'm starting to work on it. And so I always tell everybody, so if you're starting to work on something, it could take you longer, but if you have someone that you can talk to or bounce ideas off of, then you can get there faster and maybe not make mistakes.
Yeah, I agree. Really, really good topics. Very very, I think, pertinent for all of your different programs, but also like are pretty broad that can help the organizations that you work in as well as your larger community. So that's exciting stuff. Anyone else? Okay. Well, let's, you again, if you have something pops in your head as we're moving through the slides, please go ahead and throw that in the chat. Tracy and I will definitely be taking notes so that we can make sure we plan talking stick sessions that meet your needs and interests. Okay, so this is just a reminder, and this kind of goes back to maybe some of I see the OIETA team, I think that's Sarah, reminding us that at the project directors meeting, there was a session on sustainability. So you can go back. The recordings are going to be available for the next year. So you can go back and maybe check that out. Also, you know, if you have your project planner, there are forms in there that help to get you to start thinking about sustainability for your program. So you might want to take a look at that. But again, all of the recordings of all the sessions are available. So if you weren't able to attend every session that you wanted to, you can go back in the same way you logged in when you attended the PD meeting is how you can access those recordings. Also, again, once we leave this this talking stick, we do have this Padlet that's available. Please go ahead and put any topics that may come to mind in the course of your days or weeks or months. We go and check this and we'll be building talking sticks off of this information in the Padlet. So we do look at this in order to inform our talking stick sessions, as well as other maybe trainings that we could provide and TA that we can provide in the future. And here are our upcoming events. So next week we'll be having a distance learning series on student engagement, and that's online. And then in June, we will be having a virtual share fair where we're going to be asking people to share sort of as you've been going through the distance learning series, what tools have you maybe created and have worked really great, or maybe they've been a little challenging, and then you can have the opportunity to share what you've created and what you've learned. Also, the OIE office hours are coming up on June 27th, the regular time and date. And then we're going to be having in June a series of trainings on logic model and data-driven decision making. Again, we started talking about that. That was one of our first discussion questions, really looking at APR, but this will be looking at sort of the broader idea around logic models and data-driven decision-making that may be reflected in your project objectives, but also you may have other data connected to your larger organization and how to do that. And then our next talking stick session will be on June 10th. And so we're really going to be looking at the topics you mentioned and starting to build that agenda. Are there any questions? Whether it's maybe some of the budget information and the budget revision, or any questions regarding the discussion questions we talked about. No? Okay. All right. moving on. So we're a little early. Wrapping up a little early. Again, I would just want to thank you for your time and sharing your ideas. There is end of event feedback poll. This poll is a little longer than normal, but this feedback is very, very important to us. Again, we use this to inform our practices, much like your APR and how you use your data to see how you're going to change and improve what you're doing. We use this information to improve what we're doing. And so please take, it's maybe not even a minute to go through and complete these really quick questions and let us know how we're doing and how we can improve.
Just giving voice to our pleas in the chat box to go ahead and complete the poll. We've actually merged. We used to do an in-session poll and then send you a link after, and we're in an effort to get more feedback from you. And it looks like there's about half of you who've already responded here today, but in an effort to get more responses on more of our questions, we're actually just doing the one poll in session today. So that's a little change that you'll see going forward from in our talking circle sessions.
Okay. Well, let's see, people are still voting. Completing the poll. As everyone is completing the poll, we just want to remind you, if you have any questions or concerns, when you are looking at redoing your, actually submitting a budget revision, please make sure you're contacting your program officer. If you have any questions, you can also contact the OIE Technical Assistance Team. It sounds like you guys are doing some amazing summer programs. And so if that wasn't in your original budget, please make sure that you are going to submit a revision to reflect those amazing programs that you're going to be doing for the summer. Even if you are maybe with math now being your focus, maybe there's some things you need to tweak in your budget. So you want to make sure you go ahead and reflect that in your budget so that when you draw down and submit your APRs, that everything, all your budget and financial use forms are all in line with the actual activities and expenditures. So here's the contact information. Please remember that when you email or maybe leave a message that you want to include your PR number, it usually starts with the letter S. And so you want to make sure you're using the correct PR number. We're going to stay on until the end of our allotted time. If you have any questions, you can stay on and ask us. If not, I just want to thank you. I think both Tracy and I want to thank you for joining us today and for your discussions and for sharing the amazing things you'll be doing this summer and how you're using the APR, as well as the topics. And we're going to get working on the next session, talking stick session, and make sure that agenda reflects sort of your, not sort of, but your interests. Tracy, you have anything you want to wrap up with?
Just thank you for all the great sharing and input, and I look forward to talking with you more very soon.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys. Have a great remaining of your day. Aloha.